Good afternoon, everyone. A little bit of a late start here, but that's okay. You guys all watch this recorded anyways. So today we're talking about how to build a healthy work-life balance. And someday I'm going to become an expert in this. But right now, yeah.
Yeah.
I think to be an expert in something, you need to know how to talk about it, not necessarily do it.
There we go. I'll take that one.
And so, I actually think I've got a pretty good work-life balance. There's a little frustration lately just because Andrea and I both were working from home. And it was great, she had her nice sunny office upstairs, and I had my light controlled one in the basement, as a true IT guy should. And it was great. If you over lunch, we'd have lunch together and order in some Jimmy John's or something like that here and there. Go for walks when the weather was nice. And so I felt like the life was pretty good. But now being a federal employee, she has to go back into the office. And so now it's just me here at home. So now I've got to find a new balance. So it's the problem with work-life balance is that I think so many people have led a lifestyle without any kind of balance that they don't even know what it looks like.
Yeah. And, you mentioned your wife. Mine, she sees work a little bit differently than I do. And for me, I'm okay with the blending of work and personal life in a lot of different aspects. And I think one of the challenges in that work-life balance is understanding the needs of the people around you. Sometimes it's your staff, but many times it's your family and what's expected. So, I've got some stuff coming up, and she was telling me the other day, I need you to take off work for that. She wants my focus. She wants my priority there. And so that's easy to do. But, we also have a morning stand-up. It's typically only about 30 minutes. We get a lot done in it. And, I don't think I have missed a morning stand-up for more than one, off day or something for like the last 3 or 4 years, at least. Right. Well, I know we went on a cruise, and obviously I couldn't make it when I was on the cruise. But other than that, I think for me, just starting that, and even if I'm off that day, that quick 30 minutes in the morning to just kind of stay plugged in, provide any feedback that I can to the rest of the team, that really works for me. But I also need to understand, in that time slot, what is my family expecting of me? And if there is a situation where there's a conflict there, obviously I need to prioritize that. So the big takeaway is you maybe really feel like you're really good at handling your balance, but how do those around you feel like you're handling the balance? Are you enabling them to handle the balance to match their needs? And sometimes I think that is the bigger challenge, not just ourselves, but those around us.
I think that's the whole idea, is when you get to that blend, a healthy work-life balance, that it doesn't feel like work anymore. Yeah. It just feels like life.
Mm-hmm.
And when you do your team meetings, or you do your work, it now is blending with life. And we get so used to this 8-hour work day that we're like, oh, you go to work and then you come home. You have 2 lives.
Yeah.
You have work and then you have life. But what if every day was a blend of that? And some of you in your corporate world have that, where like your friends at work and your family can kind of come in and visit you and do lunch with you at work, or maybe you work from home now. But I think because of the pandemic, we have a lot of people who experience work-life balance for the first time. It was weird working from home at first, but eventually you learned that it was only because your brain had been trained to think about things in one way. And now you can see, like, I can blend my home life and my work life and become a more effective employee.
Yep.
And I think what we need to do is start thinking, like, why am I not like this in my business? And that's what the whole purpose of this work-life balance subject in May is. We schedule this every year. So if you look at last year at this time, we talked about work-life balance.
Yep.
We've done this for the past 5 years or so. And the idea there is that we should remind ourselves every May when our kids are graduating from high school or getting to that summer plan, like you tend to be a little bit more blended in, okay, I'm going to be on vacation, but I'm going to work a little bit while I'm on vacation.
Mm-hmm.
Or I'm going to be at work and, I'm going to take my kid to the pool this afternoon, so I'll be gone for 20 minutes. And so there's these little things where you're negotiating between your work and your life as to how you're going to behave. And I feel like in the summertime, that's when you're most open to the idea that you are now the same person at home and at work. And if you could just live like this every day, it'd be awesome. And some of you look forward to summer every year because this is the one time when you actually start blending and getting vacation time in, having excuses to do things well. And you can have this all year round. You just got to use something called a roadmap to say, hey, throughout the year, I'm going to do these things. And when you have a plan, you can say, oh, I'm not busy today. I'm going to be a little bit more relaxed, maybe take off some time and go to the zoo with my kids.
Mm-hmm.
Or, hey, while I'm at work, I'm going to bring a bunch of donuts in because I know this is going to be a stressful day. So I'm going to bring in stuff so that people have a little bit of a boost in morale because it's going to be a stressful day because we planned out all these projects to kick off on this Monday.
Yeah.
And so,
yeah.
The first order of business is to create a roadmap that allows you to have work-life balance. So you can predictably say when you're going to be busy, when you're going to be free, when you can plan in personal activities, when you can balance things out to help your work as a whole balance with your life. But if you don't have a plan, you're just at the mercy of wherever has the strongest roadmap, and it's almost always going to be work.
Yep. And the plan and the communication is really important. Again, kind of from managing a team perspective, you're going to have those employees that they're on work or they're off work, right? And when they're on work, they may be great. When they're off work, it's like they don't exist. They're on another planet or something, right? They're just completely disconnected. And others that blend those two together and that matches those. Now, as I was working through this, I never wanted to set the expectation that, hey, I'm expecting you to work while you're on vacation, right? You're getting this time off, or even, if it's not vacation days, maybe they're just taking a day off. They're not being paid. And my expectation is that they're going to work for free, and so we do have to balance, what's fair in that we give our staff and our team the ability to do that. But sometimes that is going to be unique to the individuals. So having that flexibility, making those plans right now as your team is scheduling their vacation throughout the summer, is the expectation going to be that they're at the morning stand-ups, even though they're on vacation? That might be kind of difficult. But if you work with your team on that, you can overcome those challenges. But May being the ideal scenario and ideal time to start making those plans, start making those communication guidelines, establish them now, so we aren't surprising people, the day of the meeting or the day before. We're going, I'll see you tomorrow morning, right? And they're like, no, I'm going to be off. So just make sure you communicate well.
Yeah, communications is great. And so that's why that roadmap gets you there, right? So you can set expectations and you can pivot a little bit, like, hey, don't plan a major vacation to Disney when you're doing a major rollout to a client, or you have a client who's having a really busy schedule. Don't plan on being gone. That's just good. You're causing issues there. You'll cover those in your QBRs if you're doing them appropriately. But also, this is how you become an employer of choice. If you're a work environment that is more forgiving and letting people kind of like go pick up their kids, or giving more vacation time, or being more forgiving on, hey, let's do this way. Or at work, you have a lot of perks, like, hey, maybe you have a snack bar every day, or maybe on Fridays you have beer 30 once a month. Yeah. There's little things you can do because your employees appreciate it. And you want to make sure that your environment is a place where people want to choose to work. And so if you want to thin down your work area really quickly, become a hostile employer, meaning make it so that your salaries are not competitive. Make it so that you have very strict vacation policies. Make it so that you can't work from home. Create a bunch of hostile areas, and people will just leave you.
Yeah.
But if you do the opposite, where you say, hey, if you work for us, you get 3 weeks of vacation front loaded. You get to leave when you need to, as long as you don't have a scheduled appointment. And when you create flexibility and you do these things, you create a place where, like, oh my gosh, I wish I worked there. I remember working at a place, and we were all sitting around. They had a keg in the office, and we were all sitting around. It was like 2:30 on a Friday, and we were playing shuffleboard, eating popcorn, and like those hand shuffleboards, and sitting around with pints of beer. And this kid came in for an interview, and so the boss had not been done for the day, but the rest of us were done.
Yeah.
And we're sitting there playing shuffleboard, drinking beer, eating popcorn, and one of the guys just stops and watches the kid go in for his interview into the side office, and goes, man, if I walked into a place where a bunch of guys are sitting around drinking beer, eating popcorn, and playing shuffleboard, I would do whatever it took.
Yeah.
And that's an employer of choice. Like, oh my gosh, I want to work here. Maybe beer's not your thing. Maybe there's a big coffee machine, an espresso machine that's pushing out great coffee. Maybe it's that people are just having fun shooting hoops outside. Create that environment where people are okay staying a little late. Yeah. Hey, I'm at work for an extra hour today, but I don't care.
Right.
Because it's such a fun place to be. Yeah. Or I can bring my kid in with me, and they can hang out over in this area where they have all these video game consoles. The kid can play over there, play Xbox or whatever, and I can get an extra 2 hours of working because it's a busy week. Then it doesn't become a big deal because you've got good balance there. The kid wants to come to work. Please, Mom, can you work late today? I want to play on in the game room at work. Okay, cool.
And there's some interesting, kind of business client-facing aspects here. I know a lot of you have kind of built your model, and it's business hours, right? You aren't doing after hours, weekend support. You've communicated out with your clients. You've kind of found your market. They're kind of that way too. And so you may be hearing some of this going, yeah, but at 5 o'clock, we're closed for business. Okay. But isn't that usually just a client-facing element? And if you could make that after 5 part something better for your team and allow that shift. So yes, for what you're doing with your clients, that client-facing element, it is, just standard, 8 to 5 sort of hours. But if there's an understanding our team may be more flexible on the back end, what does that extra time allow your team to do? And could you get more done by having, a, Tuesday night work night sort of deal, right? Where we're pushing patches or whatever's going on, right? And make that something that wasn't a burden to your employees, because we're giving them other things during the day, that flexibility to go do things with their family or whatever. Your clients are still seeing the traditional work model, but in the back end, you've made your environment more productive, a better place for your staff to work, and still treating your employees fairly. And at the end of the day, we're not requiring people to work 60 hours a week and get paid for 40 hours a week. And that's not the expectation at all. It's the ability to move those time slots around so that everybody gets everything done that they want to. I mean, for your people that you want to work for you, they want to get their jobs done. At the same time, they also want to have a life. They want to be with their families. They want to pursue personal interest. And it's really just a matter of making sure that everybody gets to do what they want to do, being both work and personal. So just slicing those up a little bit can sometimes help everybody across all areas be more productive.
Yeah. And it's hard to explain to people who have not worked in a great, balanced environment.
It is.
Because you're like, what? I let people do what they want. Like, no, what in interview your employees, have a town hall meeting, invite everybody in. It's like, what would make this a place where you'd want to invite your friends to work here? What would it take? And you might find that it's really cheap, like maybe an extra $500 a month to a kitchen budget,
Yeah.
right?
Uh-huh.
It might be something as simple as that. And now you're not fighting for employees. You're not saying you're trying to like, okay, we don't have any openings right now. We'll let you know when we have an opening.
Mhm.
And when there is an opening, all of your employees go, "Oh my gosh, you got to come work with me. It's so much fun. We have Nerf battles. We
Mhm.
shoot hoops. We drink beer. We shuffleboard, and we're one of the best MSPs in town, or the best workplaces in town." But what takes it to get there? What is it that is missing? Are you asking your employees what it is? And then your one-on-ones, are they doing the jobs they want to do? Make sure that they're in the right seat, that they're not floundering, that you're constantly working with them to make sure, is this where you're most successful?
Yeah.
How can I help you? And
What-
that becomes the way to become an employer of choice, as well as having the right people doing jobs that they enjoy and not just a slog that they're doing for a paycheck, and that they're going to invite other people to come in and do it. And then they know the roadmap. You've created a predictable roadmap throughout the entire year. So they know when your busy cycles are, they know when your light cycles are, so they can plan their vacations around that. And everybody wins.
Yeah. Well, if you've had any opportunity to work in government environments, and I had early in my career, and while I worked with some great people and I did some things there that were really enjoyable for me, I had a great boss, very, a long list of really good things. I would not say that my time at the city was a really good work environment. Right? There was a lot of very rigid structure. There at one time, you're out on the dot at another time. And if we think about some of the stereotypical responses around government jobs, right? And the value we get out of government employees, sometimes those are kind of negative. And that, I think, goes back to the balance, the environment, the workplace environment that they're creating. It is very, very transactional. You're here for this hour. I need the work, nothing else. You can't think about anything else. You can't call anybody else, do anything else. And that creates some friction, or it creates apathy in some of your employees. And so to break down those barriers and to improve that work environment, having these things in play really help your team. They feel balanced overall, and they're better employees in general.
Yes. Keep that in mind. Do you want better employees? Are you constantly fighting them? And how can you get beyond this? These are things that that are evidence that you need to have a better work-life balance for your employees and yourself. Not everybody's a workaholic, but it's okay. If somebody is a workaholic, let them lean into it. If somebody wants more balance, they just had a new baby. I remember when I adopted my first four kids, my four kids, within 2 weeks of them coming into my house, I had a director say, "You need to fly out to Denver and work on a bunch of things." I'm like, dude, I just brought 4 kids from home. All of them have separation and anxiety. I need to be home for a couple months before I fly out again. Like, suck it up, get out here. That is not work-life balance.
Yeah, that is not. No.
Maybe that's how you run your family. It's not how I run my family. And out of fear, I still went, but man, it created a lot of resentment.
Yep.
And
that's what it does. It creates resentment.
But you know what? As we get to this toxic level, we assume this is just the way things are. Then you get to a healthy work-life balance. Like, oh my gosh, this is great. Then somebody forces you back into a toxic environment. You're like, you can smell it right away. You're like, no.
Yeah.
And so I really want everybody to look at their lives and figure out, what does it take for your MSP or your business? What do your either managers or owners need to know? or what do you need to gather from your employees to say, how do we make this a place where people want to work here and want to invite their friends to work here, where you feel like you're not working every day, but you're in balance? And then the number one thing a lot of you guys come back to me with you'll go, well, we're stuck in firefighting mode and we just can't get out. Maybe next quarter. Maybe is why saying the word maybe is why you're still in this mode, and you will be in this mode forever. You have to stop, talk to your employees and say, how do we get out of this?
Yep.
How do we get to a work-life balance? So when we are in a really busy mode, it's okay because it's so enjoyable to be at work that we don't mind it.
Yeah.
If I need to come in at 9 o'clock at night and work on something, I don't feel like it's a grind. I feel like, oh, okay. I get to be at work at 9 o'clock tonight. It's just another appointment I have.
Yep.
Versus, this job is eating me alive.
Yep.
So anyways, I really like this topic. I am happy to talk to any of you who are in leadership positions who are struggling with work-life balance. I have a lot of knowledge in working IT and finding work-life balance. There are a lot of great tricks that will get you here. Get you to somewhere where less gray hairs and more smiles, less stress, better sleep. Yeah.
Something on the top too.
Skip pulled all of his hair out in the Banyan Vines era.
No, that was the NT4 era.
Oh, yeah. NT4. It'll all do. But next week is service gap analysis, which is going to be really cool because we just did our data release today to the live environment. So those of you who want to play around with it, we now have 2 RMMs where we can do gaps for architecture, but how do you assess gaps for service? And this falls right into work-life balance and how to understand what your clients need from you to make sure that you are an MSP of choice, that they want to work with you because you're helping them deliver service. And that is a great topic for next week.
I've had some really, really good conversations here over the last couple of weeks, diving into services. And so I'm primed and loaded for that one. I've got fresh material to unload on everybody.
All right, Skip. Well, thanks for coming here. And we'll see everyone next week on building a healthy work-life balance. And for you Datto/Autotask people out there, test out that new gap analysis. You will instantly find answers and find revenue that you can apply today.
There you go.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
See you next week.